Today's contingency is brought to you by Thomas Young. Agamemnon Contingency, Delinquent. The road to heroism isn't always a straight path. Sometimes there will be twists and turns, and sometimes the road will get very bumpy. And in many such occasions, the heroes of today were once the villains of yesterday. People who, after an often long road of redemption, would turn their lives around. This would best describe the journey of Kevin Levin. Beginning his story as a young runaway, Kevin had developed the mindset of putting himself above everything else, with no moral compass on how far he would go and the powers to achieve it. He had cemented himself as a long-standing rival against Ben Tennyson. At its core, Kevin's powers are quite simple. However, the true strength in his ability is in how he uses them, a form of absorption. Kevin's powers can do much more than take the powers of something he touches. Rather, he can absorb the very essence of anything he touches, making it a part of himself and having full control over it. For example, during a confrontation with Heat Blast, Kevin would manage to absorb a portion of the alien. This would trigger a transformation, warping his body to a point where the top half of him would mimic the appearance of a Pyro Knight. Something to note, but when Kevin absorbs the essence of another alien, the form he takes on will always appear as a warped version of the original alien. For a lack of better terms, think of them as the evil version. This ability, however, has a drawback. Kevin's mind, at least during his younger years, is unable to handle the power coursing through him. This causes his mental state to deteriorate, making his actions far more dangerous. But the mental deterioration of absorbing one alien was nothing compared to when he'd absorbed the 10 aliens Ben had access to at the time. Becoming a massive amalgamation of the 10 aliens, any sense of morality or rationality had vanished, turning Kevin into a monster who had nothing on his mind other than destruction. This single-mindedness would eventually lead him to be trapped in the null void. While most dread this happening to them, for Kevin it might have been the best thing for him, as it would be inside of a null void prison where Kevin would meet Quarrel, another inmate who'd become his mentor for a time. Not only would he help Kevin revert to his human form, he'd also teach him a means to use his power without the risk of losing control. This being through the absorption of matter instead of energy. This still gives him enhanced strength, but as the matter coats his body, it can also give him increased durability, depending on the material used. Though if he sustains enough damage, this outer shell will start to chip away. I can't help but wonder how much further Kevin would have developed had Quarrel remained his mentor, as even the short time they'd spent together had caused a significant difference in Kevin's personality, come the events of Alien Force. Unfortunately, Quarrel would lose his life in a prison escape, choosing to sacrifice his own freedom so that Kevin could escape. After his escape from the null void, Kevin would take up black market trading, something he takes a while to shake. But this less than legal career allowed him to gain a deeper understanding of mechanical engineering. And he would use this knowledge like any other teenager would. To upgrade his car, I won't lie, it is an impressive vehicle. Kevin's true development would then begin after joining Ben and Gwen, helping them stop the hybrid invasion. It was during this time where Kevin would become an honorary plumber, probably the first honest accomplishment of his life, and one he was proud of. Kevin would continue to grow, learning new ways to use his power. In time he would become, in Ben's own words, the big brother Ben never had. Enemies turned friends. Kevin would finally become the hero he never thought he could be. Countering Kevin depends on a variety of variables. For example, his durability depends on what materials he has absorbed. Obviously, an armor made of wood would be significantly weaker than one made of steel. Even something as small as my batarangs would be nothing more than fuel for his power. And his weakness of absorbing energy had also been overcome. Now able to absorb the aliens of the Omnitrix while maintaining his sanity, giving him a larger pool of options for retaliation. That said, I have been able to find consistent weaknesses that can be used against Kevin. The first, while a bit over the top, comes down to just trading blows. While Kevin's strength is superhuman while armored, he still has limits. If enough damage is done to him, not only will he lose his armor, but he likely cannot reabsorb more when weakened. I may bring these up a lot in contingencies, but I do have an array of suits designed to combat those with strength beyond what Kevin can typically output. That said, I have to be careful, as contact with these suits for too long would allow Kevin to absorb the material they are made of, which would make the fight that much harder. The application of high-frequency sounds has also been effective, as used by one of Ben's Ultimate Aliens against and Ultimate Kevin 11. I'll get to Ultimate Alien Ben at some point, but just know that up until that point, Kevin had been on a near unstoppable rampage. I believe the reason why this worked as well as it did was due to sound having no physical properties for Kevin to absorb. That all said, I'd prefer to not get up close and personal with Kevin if I can avoid it. Fortunately, I have a means of subduing Kevin before he could even notice me. Before Kevin joined Team Ben, he had an accomplice during his black market trading days, a boy named Arjit, who's known him since they were both children in the Null Void. Arjit's body seems to be an amalgam of several different species of rodent. The one which has proved itself to be the most helpful in self-preservation would be the porcupine-like quills on his head. Capable of shooting these quills from his body, they are more than just a sharp projectile, as the tips of his quills are laced with a sleeping and/or paralyzing agent. These toxins aren't just incredibly potent, but as an added insurance, they have been shown to work on Kevin on more than one occasion. This also includes his mutated state. Through my connections with the plumbers through Max Tennyson, I've learned that he has his quills removed to prevent him from using them when arrested. And he gets arrested a lot. Enough so that the plumbers had a decently sized stockpile of his quills in storage. I've arranged a trade with the plumbers. They'll allow me to study the toxins of his quills, in the hopes that I find a means to synthesize them into an effective tranquilizer. I will share my discovery with them. In the meantime, I have managed to concentrate the toxins into several darts. Red Hood has taken it on himself to be the one to fire them should the need arise, though his enthusiasm for this has been rather off-putting. Last night I caught him practicing movie lines while holding an airsoft rifle. I worry about him sometimes. If you also have a character you wish for me to cover, or just want to support this channel, I'll have a link to my Ko-fi page. There will also be a Google Doc with the list of characters who have ever been done or already commissioned by others. If you've made it this far, I'd like to thank you all for your support. And to anyone who's waiting for more Ben 10 videos, we are just around 2,000 subscribers shy of the Alien Force goal. So encourage you all to like, comment, and subscribe.